mics for now.
Sure.
Okay. And we are live. Okay, so let's get started. Welcome, everyone, to the November edition of Outspoken, the Publishing Triangle's monthly reading series. We ready, folks? So let's get started. Welcome, everyone. Oh, wait, let me. Why am I? Outspoken, the Publishing Triangle. All right, that's better. Okay. Heck, it's working. Everything is great. So my name is Greg Newton. I am the co-founder, along with my lovely partner, Donnie Jokum, of Bureau of General Services Queer Division. Bureau is an all-volunteer queer bookstore that has been in existence. Tomorrow will be our 12th birthday. 12 years. We're alive and kicking. And we've been here in the center for 10 of those 12 years. So an exciting anniversary for us. I'm going to pass around a bag for donations. We always say that we especially appreciate donations if you know you won't be buying any books. If you'd like to support us by buying books, that is a wonderful thing to do. But if you're able to throw some cash in the donation bag, or you can do Venmo, there's a QR on the back, I'll pass that around. And anyone watching online who would like to donate can go to Venmo and find us at BGSQD. If you're not already on our email list and you would like to be, you can sign up for that at the back of the room or on our website, which is bgsqd.com. And you'll get an email every other Monday about our upcoming events. Our regular business hours are Wednesdays through Sundays from 1 to 7 p.m. And then we often stay open later when we have events such as this. So before I bring Rob up, Rob Burns from the Publishing Triangle, I want to read a land acknowledgement and a statement of solidarity with the people of Palestine. So the Bureau acknowledges that our organization operates on the unceded land of the Munsee Lenape. We encourage you to join the Bureau in signing up to make a monthly donation to the American Indian Community Houses Mannahatta Fund. The Mannahatta Fund, according to its website, is an invitation to all settlers and non-native people who wish to acknowledge the legacy of theft and genocide that comprise the history of New York City and the United States. And you can find out more at mannahattafund.org. The Bureau also recognizes Palestinian liberation as a queer issue. As queer people, we know the pain of being cast out. We have been and continue to be despised by many, even by our own parents, families, and communities of origin. This reality evokes in many of us a deep empathy with others who are likewise seen not as fully human, but as problems to be solved, questions for which the answer is ultimately elimination and erasure. As we watch the ongoing genocide of Palestinians by the State of Israel, carried out with the full support of our government and funded by our tax dollars, we witness the inevitable results of defining a people solely as a threat to the safety and well-being of those deemed inherently worthy of life. This horror compels us to speak out not only against the current bombardment and siege of Gaza by the State of Israel, but against the historical and ongoing violent displacement of Palestinians by Zionists and the conditions of occupation and apartheid under which Palestinians have been forced to live for over 75 years. In our longing for a very different reality, we take inspiration from the words of Jose Esteban Munoz, who wrote, "Queerness is essentially about the rejection of a here and now and an insistence on potentiality or concrete possibility for another world." And that is from Munoz's book, Cruising Utopia from 2009, a book we sell here, and I highly recommend. And with that, please give a warm welcome to Rob Burns of the Publishing Triangle.
Thanks, Greg. We have a great lineup here tonight and a nice turnout here in the Bureau. So we'll get going in a second. I have a couple housekeeping things, but I'm going to sprinkle them in over the course of the next few hours. The big thing I want everyone to know, though, make sure you know, is that our submissions period for books published during calendar year 2024 are open and will be until December 6th. For fiction, nonfiction, poetry, and we have the Betty Berzon Emerging Writer Award. We have the Jacqueline Woodson Award for LGBTQ plus children's and YA literature. We have the Joseph Hansen Award for crime writing, LGBTQ crime writing. And what am I forgetting now? Thank you. It's a bad one too. It's our most popular submission group, the Leslie Feinberg Award for trans and gender variant literature. So if you have a book coming out this year that falls in any of those categories, and basically we've covered pretty much all the categories, please submit. I'm a little frazzled tonight. I apologize. I'm like, for those of you that know nonprofit management, the annual meeting is the big meeting of the year. Mine is at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. I have to be on site at 7. I mean, I run the place, and I'm also down because of COVID and because some people had to go to Disney, in November. I'm really down to like me and a half a person trying to put this all together. I'm not complaining because that's just the way the calendar worked, and I wasn't paying attention when we put things together. But so I'm a little like, which is kind of like how I walked past Ken Harvey, said hello to Ken Harvey, and then thought Ken Harvey was going to join us here because, but our first reader tonight will be Ken Harvey. Go ahead, take it off. Ken has published work in over 20 literary magazines. His book is short stories. If You Were With Me, Everything Would Be All Right, won the Violet Quill Award for Best Gay Fiction of the Year and was named one of the 20 books of note by the Lambda Literary Review. His memoir, A Passion and Engagement, was honored by the American Library Association as a Rainbow Book. When not working on his own writing, he teaches writing. He teaches at writing such programs. I cut out something. I'm sorry, Ken. A dual Canadian U.S. citizen. He lives in Toronto, Ontario, with his husband, Ambassador Lily Tomlin, who I assume that's not the same, but please, well, I don't know. I haven't been keeping up with Lily, Please welcome Ken Harvey. Just a second.
I'm going to be reading from a novel that was published a couple of years ago by the University of Wisconsin. And it's sort of based on an experience I had. I lived in Spain in the early 80s, during which time there was a coup attempt that has remained one of the most extraordinary couple of days in my life. And then when I returned to the AIDS crisis. So I wrote a book about fascism and a pandemic. And I started it before Trump was elected the first time. And then came Trump, and then came COVID. And so the University of Wisconsin said, oh, that's relevant. And so they took it. The book is written in journals and letters, and I'm going to be reading solely from the journals. As I said, this takes place during a coup attempt, and the climate was very. Franco had died a few years ago, the dictator of many, many decades, and so the climate, everybody was really on edge. The silver lining in what I like to think of during these times is it was once the struggle was over. What happened afterwards was probably one of the most exciting artistic movements of the century, and that was what they called in Madrid La Movida. And Pedro Almodovar is probably the best example who came out of that. But there were tons of there were writers, there were designers, there were artists. So I take great comfort in that followed this very difficult time. Let me just very briefly tell you about some of the characters you'll be hearing about. The main character name is Casey. The name of the book is The Book of Casey Adair. The main character is Casey, and he is a 23-year-old American doing postgraduate work in Spanish theater, which is sort of what I was doing. Octavio is so named because he was the 8th child of his family, and his parents just got lazy and didn't come up with another name. And he works. He's a sex worker for very wealthy men in Madrid. He's also Casey's lover. Gustavo is Casey's roommate, an activist on the left who is now in Valencia. And Mr. Good Morning is actually based on a real person. His name was Señor Buen Dia, which means Mr. Good Morning. But those of us, I refer to him in my mind as Mr. Good Morning. So, and Black and White is a gay bar in Madrid that still exists, or up until recently existed. The scene is the night and following morning of a coup attempt by the fascists. Monday, February 23rd, 1981. We are living in the middle of a coup attempt right now, as I write. Late this afternoon, about 200 civil guards and soldiers stormed the Spanish parliament and began shooting. A Francoist named Antonio Tejero led the charge, taking over the podium in the middle of the formal vote for the new prime minister. About 350 members of parliament are now being held hostage. No one at Marianela is the pension where Casey lives. No one at Marianela owns a TV, so we've been listening all day to the radio and all night in the lobby. The Francoists have announced the formation of a new government in Valencia, where military tanks are patrolling the streets. I worry about Gustavo being there. If the military decides to track down those they believe are dissidents, I'm sure he will be on the list. One of the leftist guys at Marianela, a student of comparative literature at the university, has already packed his bags and plans to flee to Portugal with his brother, who is driving down from Zaragoza. I now know there's at least one Francoist among us. Mr. Good Morning can't seem to hide his glee at the coup. Around 8 o'clock, he started singing Marcha Real, the national anthem of Spain, but with the lyrics used during the dictatorship, along with his accordion playing. He sang along until Antonio, a punchy man from the Canary Islands who works for the telephone company, lunged toward him, ripping the accordion from his arms and throwing it on the floor. Enough, he yelled, enough of this fascist bullshit. Octavio has shown so little interest in the coup that I'm wondering if he might be sympathetic to the Francoists. I know some of his clients are fascists, but he gave me the impression that he simply put up with their political leanings. What if it's more than that? Now the very idea that I might be the lover of a fascist makes my stomach turn. I'll go back downstairs now. King Juan Carlos II is supposed to address the country tonight, but no one is certain what he'll say. Tuesday, February 24th, 1981, 8 a.m. Rafa, the owner of the small bar next door, opened up around 11:30 last night so we could watch King Juan Carlos address the nation on his black and white TV. Guys stood at tables in small groups, smoking and talking low, shaking their heads. Rafa had taken some checkerboards and parcheesi boards out to take our mind off things while we waited. but no one wanted to play. When King Juan Carlos finally came on at 1:15 this morning, he was in full military regalia. I didn't know if he was nodding to the military insurgents or trying to reinforce his role as head of the armed forces to try to stop the coup. His speech lasted little more than a minute, but the intent was soon clear. He was on the side of democracy and vowed to resist. I was waiting for everyone to cheer, but people were too tense. No one was certain if the military would follow the king's orders. On my way out to get the newspaper this morning, I saw Antonio from the Canary Islands, the one who smashed Mr. Good Morning's accordion with two suitcases. He told me that Mr. Good Morning informed him that as manager of Marinela, he had the right to terminate any agreement with any resident. I told Antonio how sorry I was. Who cares, he said, as if I wanted to stay in this fascist boarding house any longer. Tuesday, February 24th, 1981, 10 p.m. The coup attempt has ended, and so has my relationship with Octavio. Tijero called the coup off this afternoon after many of his henchmen abandoned the cause. There are no longer tanks in Valencia, but I still don't know what happened to Gustavo. We now have a clearer idea of what went on inside the Congress of Deputies. The insurgents forgot to turn off one of the television cameras when they burst in, so much of the attempt was recorded. We all went back to the bar earlier this evening to watch the video of General Tejero, his patent leather tri-corned hat and push broom mustache, standing in front of the Spanish Parliament, waving his gun like a child who'd been given his first military toy. Tejero then starts shooting wildly at the ceiling, commanding everyone to get to the floor in the name of the king. Everyone obeys except Prime Minister Adolfo Suarez, who calmly folds his arms across his chest in defiance. It's the bravest act I've ever witnessed. He just sits there, arms crossed. Before dinner tonight, I asked Octavio if he would meet me in my room so I could talk to him. He sat on Gustavo's bed, and I sat on mine. He lit a cigarette. He lit a cigarette. I planned what I was going to say. How could you be so nonchalant in the face of your country falling back into the hands of a dictator? Don't you know what this would mean for people like you and me? But what I said was, fuck you. He thought I was playing a game because he couldn't stop smirking. He put down his cigarette, pressed his lips together, twisted his finger around a lock of hair. What do you mean, Casey? His smirk turned into a smile. He joined me on my bed, put his hand on my leg. I don't know if what I said after that made any sense to him. It hardly made sense to me. I tried to explain that the last 24 hours were eye-opening and that it was impossible for me to understand his indifference in the face of what had happened. You think my clients are going to let anything happen to me once it's even harder to find men to fuck? I wouldn't be surprised if things got better for me if the fascists take over. Men would be afraid to meet other men in cafes or in parks. I'd be their only hope. Mr. Good Morning started playing the accordion downstairs with a few missing notes. It wasn't the national anthem, but Jealousy, his unfortunate signature song. I'd have thought the music might have made me feel things like we're getting back to normal, but it had the opposite effect. Octavio's words sounded all the more callous as Mr. Good Morning played. I could feel myself withdrawing from him, even though part of me was resisting, like when you realize you've caught a cold, but you instinctively do everything to fight it off. Make love to me, Octavio said, moving his hand to my thigh. Make love to me were words he thought would bring down my guard, and they almost did. For a moment, I contemplated reciprocating his touch, but I found it in me to lift his hand off me instead. And something else seemed to lift from me as well. My breathing eased, and I told Octavio to leave. Thank you.
Ken Harvey, thank you. I forgot an award. I can't believe it. Our newest award this year will be the Amber Hollibaugh Award for LGBTQ social justice writing. And so what a well-deserved named award, and please go to our website, publishingtriangle.org. Look at the qualifications for submission and submit books. If you know of a writer who wrote a book that you think should, our submissions are only $40, okay? I mean, honestly, compared to almost any literary award, Lambda even, and they're great, don't get me wrong, but we're giving it away, and we come with a cash prize. So tell your friends that are writing about LGBTQ social issues to look into that award and submit. I also, before I'll get to you, Judith, I promise. I should mention that the chair of the Publishing Triangle is here tonight, Carol Rosenfeld. One of my fellow board members is here, Gerard Cabrera. And honestly, between Carol, Gerard, and I we're 1/3 of the entire Publishing Triangle board. There is no staff. We do everything out of the love of queer literature. I'll tug at your heartstrings a little more, but let me also thank Emmanuel Xavier, who's made sure that we're up and running. He's taking a well-relieved decompression for, I don't know why anyone wants to decompress right now, but he's decompressing right now, but he did make sure we're up and running on YouTube, or excuse me, on our Facebook page. So people are watching this live now. Manny will also be hosting our awards ceremony on April 17th, yes, 2025 at the New School here in Manhattan, a free event, by the way. So, please come on down. You'll hear a lot more about it in the next 6 months, I promise. Our other board members, though, just so you know, are Ariana Abad, Joe Okonkwo, Jim Berg, Chris Smith, and one of the founders of this organization who's hanging in there for 30 some odd years with us, David Groff. And now, back to your reading. I told you I'd be sprinkling this in. I promise it won't be all about me. Well, no, I can't. Judith Barrington's most recent book is Virginia's Apple, Collected Memoirs, published this year by Oregon State University Press. Her previous memoir, Life Saving, was the winner of the Lambda Book Award and a finalist for the Penn Martha Allbrand Award for the Art of the Memoir. Memoirs in this collection were included in Creative Nonfiction's favorite prize-winning essays and as notable literary nonfiction in Best American Essays. Barrington is also the author of the best-selling Writing the Memoir from Truth to Art. She lives in Portland, Oregon. We get her in here so she can wrap it up and go home and have a normal life for a Thursday evening. Judith Barrington.
We'll turn it around, Judith, so you can see your audience. Oh, Judith, you're muted. You need to unmute yourself.
Now it's unmuted.
There we go.
Terrific. So thank you so much, Rob. And I didn't know, I'm just amazed that the board members do all the work, that you have no staff. And I'm so impressed that you give your time for the love of literature, which we all share, but we don't necessarily all have whatever it takes to put that kind of energy into making things happen. So thank you so much, all of you who work on this series. I'm going to read from that most recent book, Virginia's Apple, collected memoirs. It's 14 memoirs that were written over a period of time, some long ago and some much more recently. But when they were put together, they kind of make a larger story, even though they were written as separate pieces. One of the main themes that comes through is the theme of my becoming a lesbian and coming out as a lesbian, which I did in the midst of the second wave of feminism, in the middle of women's liberation movement in London, England, which was where I was living at the time. I grew up in England, moved to Oregon in 1976. That theme of lesbianism recurs throughout the book and carries with it various stories that also touch on various stories of homophobia, which are larger or shorter or smaller according to the time period and the place. I'm going to read from a chapter in this book called Beds. It's set in 1981, and I have to say it's extraordinary that Frank, the very first reading you've just listened to was set in Spain in 1981, I believe. I, in fact, was living in Spain from 20 years earlier. I went there in the early 60s when I was very young. But in this story, it's 1981, and I'm there with my partner, Ruth. We're in our second year together. We have now been together for 45 years. So this was early in the relationship. We're on our first trip back to Europe. I'm wanting her to see some of the places that have been important to me. We went to England, and also we took a car trip driving down through France and into Spain. In the story, we're on our way back north. We're towards the end of the trip. But in the course of that trip, one of the ways that I experienced not being completely yet out of all of my fears around lesbianism was that when I had to go into a hotel and ask for a room, they would always ask, 2 singles, madam, or a double? And I was always somewhat embarrassed or perhaps red-faced when I would want to ask for the double. And in Spain, it was particularly odd because they would always ask if you wanted the bed was called a matrimonio. A matrimonio. So it never seemed right somehow. So I got so fed up with it that I made Ruth took over that job, and she had been and I was the driver, so it seemed fair. So she had been all the way through Spain. She had been going in and successfully getting us a double bed in that time. I think that's all you need to know. I'm going to just read you the very last couple of pages of this piece. On our last night in Spain, in the fishing village of Puerto de la Selva, a place I'd known when I lived very close to it, we splurged for a night at the hotel right on the quayside. Its outdoor tables were bright with red check tablecloths, and its indoor restaurant opened on both sides to the ocean. Ruth had dealt with the matrimonio question, though unfortunately we'd ended up with 2 single beds anyway, perhaps because that was all they had left. Unpacking our bags in the room with a magnificent view over the dark green water, I routinely pulled out the table from between the beds and put it to one side. Then we pushed them together, resigned to a night of avoiding the central chasm. We swam off the rocks, sat at a table by the harbor wall to eat a paella, and then, in search of a few last-minute treasures, wandered arm in arm through the town. 2 women holding hands was not an unusual sight in Spain. In fact, it was the custom. Sexual contact, however, had until recently been a crime. It was just 6 years since Franco's death, and gay men could still be thrown in jail for public displays of affection. Lingering over a bottle of champagne, we discussed our return journey through France, determined to eke out our few remaining francs by avoiding hotels altogether and using the tent we had stashed in the trunk. The only thing that worried us was the cold. The nights were growing shorter and chillier, and our aged sleeping bags were skimpy. The noise from the bar went on till the early hours, but we slept through most of it and woke early to pack. Then we went into the dining room and sat at a table near the open doors for breakfast. We ordered coffee and stared out at the sailboats rocking on their moorings as the sun appeared over Cabo Creus and began to light up the bay. Just then, a large man, dressed in black with a white apron, the man who had carried our bags the night before, walked up to our table with a strange leer on his face. He hovered for a minute, not speaking, yet not going away either, smirking as if he were possessed of some dreadful secret. Just as I was about to ask what he wanted, or summon a waiter to send him away, he lifted both arms in the air with his fists clenched and spat. He was gone before either of us fully registered what had happened, gone so fast and so completely that it was hard to believe he had ever been there. The coffee and croissants arrived, peach jam and 4 squares of butter. I looked outside, trying to feel something, trying to know what to feel. The sun was higher, the yacht's masts glinting, and the wrought iron lampposts on the quayside casting shadows. I poured the coffee and avoided looking at Ruth or at the people sitting nearby. For a few brief moments, I hung my head and remembered what it was like to feel responsible for other people's contempt. I looked up at Ruth, who seemed bewildered, and when I reached for her hand, she didn't move. Then, holding her gaze with mine, I allowed the sickening reality of what had happened to sink in. It was the beds, of course. A maid had talked to someone who talked to someone else, and the porter was in on the gossip. Ruth was now steaming mad. Shoving aside my vestigial unease, I joined her. I no longer believed, though God help me, I once had, that lesbians deserved to be spat upon at breakfast. It was a fine thing to be angry. We settled our bill and went upstairs, where we found the beds made up and returned to chaste separation. Grabbing our cases, we left the room and slammed the door shut behind us. As we crossed the dark, tiled hallway with its sofas and aspidestras, we noticed a pile of blankets lying on a table with a needle and thread beside them. A maid must have been darning them, working her way through the pile in the light of the floor lamp that glowed weakly in the corner. We stopped and looked at each other. Neither of us said a word as I leaned down and took the top blanket, folded it into a square, and slipped it between our coats. We stalked out of the hotel, revved up the car, and still without saying a word, bumped over the cobblestones and headed north. And that should have been the end of it, except that all the way to the border, breathtaking coves on our right and olive groves to our left, I shook alternately with anger and alarm. With my eyes glued to the rearview mirror, I watched for pursuers. Approaching the frontier post, I expected to be seized and dragged from the car. No one calls out the police for an old, much-darned blanket, Ruth reassured me. And of course, I knew it was true. As we sped away towards Carcassonne, I turned on a local French music station and relaxed. I was not irrational enough to believe that Interpol would get involved. all the way back to England. We slept in our tent under the warm blanket with its neat repairs, and very matrimonial it was too. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. That was wonderful. Okay, I mentioned submissions are $40 a piece, and they are. You know what else is $40 each? Memberships. If you become a member of the Publishing Triangle account right now, we're looking at ways we can make it and making it an add-on. But right now, I can't promise you anything else except for good karma. But we do appreciate people joining. Right now, I'm in the process of cleaning up the membership list. Basically, if you've made that contribution over the last 2 years, we're considering you in good standing. By the end of this month, everyone will, because we get a lot of inquiries like, I haven't gotten anything in the mail. Well, we don't do a mail anymore, but we're moving to email and we just so many hours in a day, but I do need to get on that, and I will get on that. So if you have been a member and you haven't heard anything in a while from us, assume you're okay until you get that email where I say, hey, you want to give another $40? Our next reader is Jennifer Levin. Jennifer is the author, yes. Jennifer's the author of 4 novels: Water Dancer, Snow, Shimone's Lover, The Sea of Light, and a collection of short stories, Love and Death and Other Disasters. Her short fiction and essays are widely anthologized, and she's also written for the New York Times, the Washington Post, Rolling Stone, The Forward, and many other publications. A PEN Hemingway nominee and a Lambda Literary Award nominee, she's the recipient of multiple George Avery Hopwood Awards for essays and fiction. Her novel, The Sea of Light, appears on a list of the 100 best gay and lesbian novels of all time. She's an award-winning editor and creative writing teacher. She's also proud and pleased. She's paying it forward. Several of her students have gone on to publish critically acclaimed work themselves. So please welcome Jennifer Levin.
How's this? Good? Good. Yeah, okay. Oh, the Irish fan club is here. And my dear friend Julie Delorier, a champion in Rise and Resist. Yes. Yes. And I just a shout out to Rob and Gerard Cabrera and Carol Rosenfeld. They do all this work alone. They really do. A few other people help them. They carry on this terrific organization. You go to an awards ceremony in April, you don't pay anything to get in. You don't have to dress up and pay hundreds of dollars just to go. It's very human friendly. And very proud to be a member, although I think I owe you money for
You're in good stead.
Yeah. So some of you may have heard some of this before at other readings. I'm working on a novella, which I'm almost finished with. It's called Bomb Cyclone. A bomb cyclone, it happens when the energy inside a storm system explodes. This can cause blizzards, severe thunderstorms, terrible winds, dramatic drop in temperatures. If you will go with me to a place sort of like Brooklyn, possibly Manhattan in the not so far future. There is a plague. Everyone is locked down in their home except for essential workers. Children are going crazy. Crazy people on the streets don't have their medicine. And on the front lines are emergency medical technicians. Two of my characters, Hector and Sarita, are EMTs. One of the characters I'll also read from tonight is Lou, who suffers from schizophrenia and is on the streets. And Robert, who's considered an essential worker as well. He cleans the toilets in a hospital and lives with his father who's dying of dementia. But it's not all doom and gloom. Hector and I, what we do, we pull on vinyl gloves, tear strips of gauze, sop up pus and blood. No, don't call the fire department. There isn't any fire. Our ambulance has all the same stuff theirs does. Tell me what happened. How? When? Pain on a scale of 1 to 10. What kind of insulin? What kind of pills? We strap human bodies onto hard flat boards, into hard orange lift chairs, maneuver around furniture, across stained floors, through doors, down flights of stairs to the broken sidewalks. Then 1, 2, 3, up you go. Welcome to my bus. How you doing, Poppy, Mommy, Junior, Sugar? Look at me. That's good. Put on this mask. You eat anything, drink anything, smoke anything, pop anything today? Just relax. It'll be okay. Hector driving, me in the back, opening an oxygen canister. Hector blasts music, Daddy Yankee, reggaeton, old style. Lo que pasó, pasó entre tú y yo. Awesome, kid says, his ear gushing blood. That song's mad crusty. My grandpa plays that song. Sometimes I drive and Hector's in the back with an EDP, an emotionally disturbed person. For example, Lou, one of our frequent flyers. Before the pandemic, Lou would miss clinic appointments every couple of months, then go off his meds, but now the clinic is closed and he has no meds to go off of. So every few days, someone calls 911. Crazy asshole guy throwing shit all over, saying nasty shit so loud, we all can't sleep. Lou on the street in a hot, still night, stalking back and forth, erratic, rigid, terrified, enraged. 1,000,000 degrees out, but he's shivering, ratty sweater, broken boots, no mask, screaming his favorite thing. You Christians take the Statue of Liberty up your ass on a Sunday. The last phrase howled with indignation. Hector, very matter of fact. Lou, tranquilo. Calmate, man. Calm yourself. Come on, Lou, come on with me. Put on this mask. You know the drill. Get into the bus. All summer, we'd had weeks of 110-degree days and high humidity, people collapsing from heat exhaustion on the streets and the parks, old folks dropping dead in their apartments because they forgot to turn on the AC, couldn't because they forgot to pay the electric bill, or forgot to drink water, or were afraid to eat anything with salt due to pre-existing conditions such as high blood pressure, heart failure, kidney problems. Then winter, the bomb cyclones, when the temperature dropped 20 below, wind howled over roofs, around corners, window ledges, fire escapes, and there was no walking, just skating on ice covering sidewalks and streets. People slipped, broke noses, ankles, shoulders, necks, died of exposure in their cars. We found one guy dead in the driver's seat of a broken down old Chevy he'd obviously been living in. filthy blankets frozen around his body, vomit frozen around his mouth like a strange beard. One eye open, one shut. The cops had to pry him out. Some we could salvage, some we could not. Eso es que pasó en el barrio fino. We saw it all. Who speaks? My soul had become gray. It was a spiritual dilemma. I understood that I must regain a sense of purpose. A dark angel had given me poison during my last visit to the Windenhall Clinic for Emergency Care and Mental Health, proudly serving our community since 1954. I had some pills left, but poured them down a sewer. Then I pulled the prescription label off the blue plastic bottle and rolled it into a ball and discarded it separately to prevent identity theft. Trees bloomed white petals, but the petals froze and fell to the sidewalk with a sound like breaking glass, settled there like snow, the rain, sleet, then the bomb cyclone. An individual I once had known in an earthly sphere enjoyed reading about world history. This is something he shared with the orphans on the subway. If you know no better, you would think this concatenation of catastrophic events was of shattering historical proportion. In fact, it was not. The Spanish flu was more contagious and more deadly. The bubonic plague killed a much larger percentage of the human population. As one of the orphans on the X train pointed out, for several years during the 6th century, there was no sunlight. Crops failed. Famine and disease were widespread. None of this takes into account the various pestilences and famines and volcanic eruptions and meteoric collisions occurring in prehistoric times. Crazy ass! Sabnak! Azalel! A pox upon thy house! Fuck you! It had seemed for a while that the germ was receding, for redemption became Judgment Day. Temperatures had been unseasonably warm, then plummeted nearly 60 degrees. Sweat and tears became icicles. All was darkness. I spoke with the angel of Baal Hadad. There was no response, not even a postcard. I wandered. Voices came from a burning car on Bedford Avenue. Rachel, Eddie, Zebediah, my friends. Lou, they said, we're back. I am here, I said, and I fell to my knees and bowed down low until my forehead hit the sidewalk and blood trickled down. They were all speaking quite loudly, competitively. Zebediah's voice drowned out the others and became a dominant chant. Call me Z, he said. Okay, I said. He chanted tales of old, describing how in the days of the ancient Israelites, plagues were inflicted upon Egypt. Water turned to blood, frogs swarmed up out of the water, there were lice, flies, a pestilence upon livestock, boils appeared on the skin of women and of men, hail, locusts gorged on the harvest, darkened the skies, left not a husk behind. The sun hid, and there was blackness all day and all night. Then the coup d'etat, the killing of firstborn sons. Egypt sowed the seeds of its own ruin through greed and slavery, said Z, and by fucking up the Nile River. Like many great world powers that rise and then fall, Egypt failed to deal with these problems. Their leaders kept kicking the can down the road. They thought they could just get away with shit. Z described how in our time, plagues were inflicted upon us too. petals that blossomed and then froze in the wake of the bomb cyclone, broken light bulbs, rats, bed bugs, Whole Foods. The abandonment of blind guinea pigs, a shortage of toilet paper, and of automobile mechanics, sexual desecration of the Statue of Liberty. We too were slaves. We were forced to bow down to garbage and to greed. A few assholes owned everything. They had established underground bunkers in the Sea of Tranquility and outside of Boise, Idaho. The shortage of automobile mechanics was important because Z lived in his car, but the car was burning, and with it, his spirit. So he had come to me, dragging Rachel and Eddie behind. Lou, he said, we need you. You must become essential, an essential worker. I'm ready, I said. From this day forth, you shall no longer be Lou Goldfarb. The mantle has passed. I name you the proxy of Z. Avoid pizza parlors. Search out thy children. And take Rachel with you. Eddie howled, what about me? Fuck you, Eddie, I said. Blasphemer, thou useless piece of shit. Shut the fuck up and listen for a change. You're not welcome here. When I looked up, the fire was gone. The car, a rusted hulk, abandoned and cold, as if the flames had never blazed. And the proxy of Z reborn rose and said to the 22 caliber handguns, Ufaratsta! Be strong, break through, spread out to the west and the east and the north and to the south. Be a blessing to the world. Rachel's voice whispered to me then lovingly, come on, Lou, our children await. Ram's blood spilled from my broken forehead, the mark of the prophet Samson, and the Frito, and the Cheeto. It froze upon my sweater. I climbed many flights to the subway tracks and took Rachel with me. Her voice murmuring in my ear, within my head, my eye sockets bulging with the pressure of the murmur. It was 5 o'clock in the morning. Alarms rang, iPhones, galaxies, and the Canaanites watched the god of death molt, and the proxy of Z watched them all, heard them all ringing. The boots of the proxy of Z were broken at the toe, and the right boot caught on a ragged edge of metal stair, and Z fell, using his hands to break the fall, injuring one of them. It was wind and pestilence and darkness. His fingers were numb. With difficulty, he rose. The train arrived, a flashing fluorescent chariot from which voices came and gates opened, and he paused at the entrance to the chariot door, and Rachel paused too, searching for her children. Lou, she said, you got blood all over. Get on the fucking train. I obeyed. We saw a boy man, heard him beseeching his ex-wife through a cellular device, words of anger and of pain. Please, please. I set my hand upon his shoulder. Son. He winced, his nostrils flared. Talk to me, son. I'm an essential worker. I know. What else torments you? Dad's all alone. I locked the door. He flushed my hamster down the toilet. He said it smelled bad. I forgot to clean the cage. Did this creature have a name, son? Homer. And you, child, what is your name? Robert. He pressed a freshly shaven cheek into my palm and cried. He told me how his father was now demented and incontinent and had no one to care for him that day because his sister Eleanor had canceled out on him. He told me how 5 years ago he had held up his infant son Berto to see if his diapers needed changing and how the child had slipped from his arms and fallen to the floor. And since then, The child would not speak or smile. How his wife Arlene had left him for a man named Marcus, who was tall and owned a black Jeep Wrangler 4xe. How he wanted to beat Marcus to death with a tire iron. How he hoped that one day soon, Arlene and her fucking witch of a mother and Marcus would all be killed together in a car crash on the BQE, so that he, Robert, would be awarded sole custody of his son. Holy Father, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. It's a bomb cyclone, son. There's nothing to forgive. Everyone feels like that today. Everyone wants to kill their ex. Get custody. Screw people up. Set trash cans on fire. But I bought it. What, son? What did you buy? A tire iron. Well, I said, then you can help me fix my car. The boy laughed and laughed. He wiped away his tears. He closed his blue eyes, rested his head against my palm. Then the eyes of Horace opened and changed from flame to dull sky, and he pulled away, his back stiff, shoulders rigid and square. His nose twitched and became a violent, living thing. You stink. I apologize, he said. Get away from me, man, before I fucking kill you. Nephilim, giants in the earth. The train lurched, then halted, grinding, shrieking. Blood ran into my eyes. Rachel's voice came to me. Lou, Lou, what's Montague? Shut the fuck up, I said, or I will kill you, bitch. But she whispered, insistent. It is nor hand, nor foot, nor arm, nor face, nor any other part belonging to a man. Oh, be some other name, Lou. You broke your fucking thumb. Somewhere a passenger screamed. The proxy has become a shell of himself, merely an entity bereft. Now my charms are all overthrown. The entity's inadequate human teeth are chattering, biting frozen blood upon blood-encrusted lips. The taste is salty, excruciating, exquisite. And what strength I has mine own, which is most faint. Suddenly, a voice. Crazy ass old guy throwing shit all over, saying nasty shit so loud we all can't sleep. I am home. I have made it home to my section of sidewalk, abreast the front entrance to 71618 Enoch Street, Brooklyn. Home. Home. I should have called it something you somehow happen to deserve. You Christians take the Statue of Liberty up your ass on a Sunday. Shut your mouth, you sick ass evil eye. I called 911. Lovely to see you too, Kanisha. Call it 911, wench. See if I care. For my bounty is as boundless as the boundless sea, Beelzebub. This Jew is tired. This Jew don't give a shit. They stumble that run fast, and every self-righteous bitch on the block can suck my dick. I forgot the names of my children, Rachel sobbed forlorn. Like I have time for her shit. Rachel, how often I got to tell you, shut the fuck. A vehicle floats in the sky, descends, a hovering tent of nomads, of healers, of lights. From the floating craft descend two gods, one of them the female of many names, Anahita, Mitra, Ishtar, Isis, Artemis, Kuan Yin, Sarita. The other a man named Hector. Lou, tranquille, calmate, compose yourself. Up yours! Oh, come on, Lou. You fell on your face or what? You've been bleeding pretty heavily. And what's with the hand? You break a thumb? He holds out a little blue paper mask. I see myself as if hovering above it all now, a crazed man, shivering, terrified, hypothermic, ill, wounded, homeless, alone in the cold and the dark. Come on, Lou. Come on with me. Put on the mask. You know the drill. I reach out with my one good hand and take the mask. Dark hair floating, breath turning to smoke in the black night sky, full lips. Sarita, the woman of many names, fits vinyl gloves onto her hands with a snap. Bomb cyclone. Hey, Lou, long time no see. Come on, my friend, get into the bus. And I do. Thank you.
So good. When I was over the last few days emailing Jennifer and all the readers tonight, and about, they're like, how long can I read? Usually I'm like 8, 10, 12 minutes. She's like, my piece is gonna be like 15. Now I wish it was 30. So thank you. That was amazing. By the way, I should note it was on social media, but well, Facebook at least. And we're no longer on X, so. What on our original lineup, Donna Minkowitz was going to read from her new novel, Donnaville. She is sick tonight, and we wish her the best, and we will definitely bring her back very soon. Speaking of which, though, 5 weeks from today. Sorry. I'm just explaining, I had a bunch of teeth out a few weeks ago. So I'm wearing a flipper, and I will be for a long time until the implants are ready because of bone graft. But there's only so much fixing it can do. And after you talk for a little bit or eat, forget about eating in front of people. Thanksgiving's gonna be a nightmare. But if you're hearing clicking and seeing my teeth go up and down, it's not your imagination. December 19th, Thursday, December 19th, when the next time we're back. Listen to this lineup. Christian Baines, Michael McCune Bondus, Christopher Bram, Nathan Burgoyne, Finian Burnett, Greg Heron, Joy Layden, and Fiona Riley. It's going to be amazing. So please join us again. Especially because Nathan Burgoyne just put out a Christmas volume. So, he's gonna like set us into the holiday season in a very queer way. Next up, our next reader, Ruben Quesada, is a poet, translator, and editor. He edited the award-winning anthology Latinx Poetics, Essays on the Art of Poetry. His writing appears in the New York Times Magazine, American Poetry Review, The Believer, and Harvard Review. His new poetry collection, Brutal Companion, won the Barrow Street Editors Prize. Please welcome Ruben Quesada.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. I'm coming to you from a car. I'm in Los Angeles, caring for my mother, and she is in the ER at the moment. So I really needed this space, and I feel very honored to share this space with so many writers that I've admired over the years. I'm going to be reading some poems from my new collection, Brutal Companion. And I'll start with this one. This is called With a Line by Paul Monette. On the night we met, I smoked a pack of Camels on the porch with you. Many summers ago, we drank iced tea by the pool, swam beneath a tantrum of cicadas. Today, while you were at work, I learned another way to leave you. I did the laundry, took a Xanax, and folded a syringe and tourniquet into a drawer. This is Genesis. Even the province of truth must be stitched. Start with a pattern, a needle and thread to sew the empty sleeves of a sentence, a hole in the hull of a hemistick. We'll begin by weaving a heroic couplet with the tip of our tongues, then spit and spin fringe for flair, thread a loose sentence, darn it, the slip stitch of subject and predicate through ribbed velveteen, then set tender Baroque buttons on the cuff and press an adverbial crest over the breast. What is the point predicated on subject and verb? The smell of your bronzed skin in my mouth, a periodic splinter on the road of my spine along the wall. The collar curls a path to trace the past as the hem unravels. This is called AI, or Arger's Incandescence. Christ suffers in reverent gold on crucifixes, gifts from the elderly all over the walls. He embraced his role as hospice lead. His office harbored a hide, stretched and dried, a tan sling darker than bronze, with steel studs and rings, a hue he yearned to summon every summer. We smoked, listened to Helen Reddy's melody, then Grace Slick urged us to feed our heads. We consume clouds numbing our mouths. A caterpillar calls and she sings as you lie on my chest, supple and sleek. An incoming windstorm rattles our embrace like live wires. Your eyes widen. I slip my feet into stirrups, my legs raised high, making a steeple of myself. So I'd like to read a poem where I kind of have a little fun with language, which is the best part about being a poet. This is called Country Words for America. A word unheard to hullabaloo, cub chew, I slurred namby-pamby too, aloud in a crowd, combing my hair in a honeycomb house, and a pair approach the door, confer a barbed cry not heard before in this jungled sky. Queer fandangled words blanket the air amid unswept rooms, caribou herds, gutting white-haired moss chew gummet loose, a four-flush scared juicy calaboose, rice truck, quirly pross, roostered western glow, brassy Betsy Ross, spangles in tow. I'll read two more poems. These are both poems about my mother. This is called My Mother is a Garden. She plants razzleberry fringe flowers in the backyard as the chartreuse golden feather farewell next door. Before my birth, she is acquired by the United States. Coerced by the American Zodiac dream, she fled to Los Angeles. Decades later, she still withholds from speaking English, and only fertile names of flowers have taken root. She is luminous, her hair a blackish gray against the philodendron, parted long. I lose her in the shade of overgrown impatiens hanging onto the hillside behind the house. The horizon undulates with barberry and nettles, deer grass waves of silver. Years have passed, not speaking with my mother, but today I surprise her with a visit. In the glow of the window, I watch her tend her roses and notice that I have taken the shape of her hips. And I'll finish with this. This is an ekphrastic poem also about my mother. It's about a painting called The Fortune Teller by Jacques-Louis David, which is on display in San Francisco. This is called The Fortune Teller. Christ was never more than a man nailed to a cross, but from him I learned a life can fit into a palm like a book of poems. I learned confession won't save me. I'm reminded of a fortune teller I met in San Francisco at Dolores Park on a radiant late afternoon as the sun slanted across bodies of slack line-wrapped palm trees. From the shade came a woman wearing a green scarf. She hooked herself into my arm, took me toward her. She took my other hand, making it float face up into the pool of air between us. She fingered my palm into creases of sevens or L's. She sketched a future I once wanted into neat curves from thumb to wrist. Then my hand dropped and her scarf drifted into the trees. She coughed, the barrels of her lungs wheezing, exhausted. She wiped her mouth, turning away, and said, "Last night, as your mother died, a haze of zinnias hushed in the rain." Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruben Quesada. I'm sure on behalf of all of us, we are sending our best wishes for your mother. Ruben, by the way, has been many times a judge for the what is it? I almost said Atlanta Literary Awards for the Publishing Triangle Awards. Which reminds me that if anybody here out there is interested in being a judge, we're still looking to fill up some categories for judging. So please email us at publishingtriangle@gmail.com and we'll fix you up. With the Gmail, use the Gmail account, that's .com. I just, I check the other ones I have to, it's glitchy. Telling you more than you need to know. Our next reader will be Lauren Melissa Elzy. Lauren Melissa is an autistic self-advocate, author, and activist. Her young adult novels, Boy at the Window, gimmicks and glamour, and streamline, emphasize the importance of belonging for queer neurodivergent youth of color. She holds a master's of science in library and information science and resides in the Bronx. And when did we last see each other, Lauren? I think it was a Rainbow Book Fair back in April. She told me your book was coming out in July, but we closed down our reading series for the summer. And so this is the first time we've been able to get her back. So I'm thrilled, though, that she's back. Laura Melissa Elsie.
Hi, everyone. So I am really thrilled to be here. Thank you, Rob, for not forgetting about me after July passed. And I'm going to be reading from my most recent novel, Streamline. Streamline is about a 17-year-old girl named Diana. She is a lesbian and she's autistic. And she has found her space where she can really thrive online in a MMORPG, which is like a massive multiplayer online video game. And she's also a video game streamer. And it's her dream to be a pro streamer, but it seems like no one really believes in her dream and just wants her to be neurotypical. But when Loon, her name's Diana, but online she's called Loon, meets the #1 gamer in the game, she may have found the key to bump her into the upper echelon of gamers. But as she gets to know Noct, this girl gamer online, everything she knows about friendship and love begins to unravel. So I'm going to be reading a scene and then maybe a little bit more beyond that from Streamline. Ironically, the book opens with this idea that Loon has not left her home in over a month. But the scene I'm going to read you is when she finally does leave. So she's considering whether or not she wants to cam up when she streams online. But she discovered that her webcam, and she's like, that's it, I'm gonna give this a try. It didn't even work. So she had to return it. So she's on her way to the post office. We're getting ready to go to the post office, I should say. And one more thing you might need to know is that Loon gets very, very dressed up when she streams in a way that other people ridicule offline, but online it's considered like very stylish and cool. A door shutting in the distance knocks me out of my reverie. I shake my head to force the sleepiness away. I need to get ready to go to the post office. I wheel my chair to my vanity and take out a packet of makeup remover wipes from a drawer. 5 wipes later, my skin is bare. Sizing up my outfit, I decide that it's too flashy for the trip. The white button-down dress will do, but I peel off my black tights. My barrettes click as I remove them. After unearthing some white socks from a drawer in the closet, I slide on a pair of Mary Janes. The mirror reflects a relatively normal girl. No one would think twice about me. At least, that's what I hope. I grab the webcam box from under the bed, print out the shipping label, and grab some tape to bring to the post office. My miniature backpack waits on its hook in the closet. I double check that my noise-reducing earplugs are still inside. There's also a Tangle fidget, a pair of oversized sunglasses, and a face mask in case of rotting garbage. I keep a Garlandia, that's the game, logo keychain on the zipper of my backpack for good luck. In case of an emergency, I stuff my headphones inside. Ambulance sirens require heavy-duty protection. Opening the front door is the hardest part. I tell myself that it's fine. Anyone can go to the post office, but it's also different from my daily routine. I wish I could wash my face, slip on my nightshirt, and turn out the lights. She goes to bed at 6, 7, 8 a.m. So that's why she can go to the post office. But what I really want is to shove myself out of my comfort zone, get myself to the post office, and eventually cam up. I can do this one step at a time. Take 5 deep breaths, turn the doorknob, kick 1 foot over the threshold. I lock the door behind me and force myself into the elevator. 5 floors down and 14 steps to the front lobby. I push past the main entrance. My neighborhood is relatively quiet compared to other parts of the city. Still, I put my earplugs in to block out the sound of window unit air conditioners and passing traffic. The sound really isn't too bad, but I know from experience that it all adds up. The last time I left my apartment was graduation day. Mom insisted that I go. I just want one picture, she begged. I managed to avoid one meltdown today. I don't want to fight through another. A woman with a briefcase walks past me before entering her car. A father pushing a stroller cruises on by. Neither notices me. I put away so much of myself, all for a half-hour trip to the post office. Part of me wonders if they can see through my camouflage, but my reasonable half knows that's ridiculous. The post office is around the block. I open the door, only to be assaulted by fluorescent lights. The bulb near the front desk flickers. No one in line seems to care. While my sunglasses would help, I don't want to draw any unnecessary attention, so I try to grin and bear it. Unfortunately, there are 3 people ahead of me. I grab a shipping box from a shelf and place the web camera inside. While I tape on the overnight shipping label, a woman enters the post office. I keep my head down and hurry to take my place in line in front of her. The woman pulls out her phone. "I'm good to talk," she says. "I'm just at the post office." My earplugs muffle her conversation, but they can't block out all the sound. I try to ignore her, but I've never been good at zoning out noises. Last night was a lot, not gonna lie. I'm a little hungover. "Will you be paying cash or credit?" the front desk agent asks the person in the front of the line. I grip the box closer to my chest. Usually it's not this bad. I probably haven't recovered from my fight with Mom earlier. And while the invitation from Knocked was a definite positive for me in the game, the excitement may have amped me up more than usual. The line moves forward. All I need to do is make it to the front, pass the box to the agent, and then I can move on with my day. Soon, I can go to sleep. Managing 15 minutes at the post office should be a cakewalk. After all, I managed hours at school for years. Those long days seem miles away. I've gotten so used to the safety of my room. By the time I take it to the agent, I can feel a headache coming on. He wordlessly accepts the box and looks it over with a frown. "Where's the address?" he says. I take the label to the box. "You still need to write the address. Right here, see? There's a spot for your address and one for where you want to ship it to." The light flickers overhead. "Can I borrow a pen, please?" Despite the coffee mug full of pens next to the agent's computer, he points to a table in the back corner of the post office. "There are pens over there." Several people are waiting in line behind me. The woman on her phone casts me an impatient glare. "I have to get back in line," I ask the agent. He sighs. "No, you can just come right back up when you're ready." "Thank you." I retreat to the back corner and grab the pen tied to the tabletop. At first, it won't write, but after a few tries, the ink starts to run. I hurriedly write the addresses and head back to the front desk. The agent is working with the woman, who's still on her phone, even though there's a sign on the wall that reads, "We request no phone use while speaking with post office employees." She doesn't seem to care. An older man taps his foot as he waits his turn. "Excuse me," I say as I try to edge my way back in line. "What?" he says. Sometimes when my earplugs are in, my voice comes out wrong. I can be too quiet or too loud. I clear my throat. "Excuse me, the agent said I could get back in line once I finished writing down the addresses." "The end of the line's over there," he says gruffly. "But are you ready?" the agent asks me. I glance between him and the man in line, unsure of how to move forward. I can hear my heartbeat racing wildly in my ears. "Sorry," I say as I rush to the desk. The agent types the addresses into his computer. The shipping label includes, "This line's too long," the other man grumbles behind me. "Shouldn't someone else be working?" "What did you say?" I asked the agent. "I couldn't hear you." "It's because you have those earbuds in," the agent replies. "You should stop listening to music when you're talking to people." I don't know how to tell him that I'm not listening to music. And I don't understand why the woman from before could be on her phone, but I'm bad for wearing earplugs. With shaky hands, I take out the earplugs, and the buzz from the flickering light drills into my skull. The agent seems satisfied. I said the label includes shipping fees, so you're all good. Oh, thank you. I turn to leave, but the older man behind me has already approached the desk. I bump his shoulder. I'm sorry, I say. Look where you're going, he snaps. I'm sorry, I repeat, but he's already talking to the agent. Now, everyone else in line is staring at me. Stop staring. It's rude, I want to say. It's what the autism specialist explained to me in sessions. Staring is wrong. Not looking at people when they talk to you is also wrong. Talking too much is wrong. Talking too little is wrong. My eyes sting. My eyes sting, which is absurd. I can't cry in the post office. That would be wrong too. All these people in line learned all these rules without even trying, and they all know that I'm the odd one out. I rush out the post office. A few tears escape my eyes without my consent. I wipe them away. The tears keep coming. Just talk, I tell myself, but no one ever listens to me, not even me. A woman in jogging sweats hovers over me. Are you all right, sweetie? Are you lost? She asks in a sickly sweet voice meant for young children. I'm not lost, I say as I wipe my eyes one more time. Do you need me to walk you somewhere? No. She nods slowly, unconvinced. When I walk away, I can feel her gawking at my back. I cram my earplugs back in. Squeezing my hands into fists, I make my way home step by step, down the street, through the main entrance, up the elevator, unlock the door. Silence and darkness welcome me inside. At least Mom isn't home. I don't have to tell her where I went and how I failed. All I had to do was ship a box without making a scene. Any normal person can run an errand to the post office. The only place where I can roam without making mistakes is online in Garlandia. But the truth is, I could have 1,000 subscribers on my streaming platform, or 10,000, or 1,000,000, and the offline world would still be an absolute nightmare. Thank you.
Dora Melissa Elsie, and we'll have you back. That was worth the wait, but we'll have you back soon, in the Outspoken series. Wait, first, we are in a small business, right? Don't buy your books from Amazon, buy them from the Bureau of General Services, buy them from other queer bookstores or independent bookstores, but preferably queer bookstores. Amazon doesn't need your money. I mean, we've all failed at one point or another. I'm not gonna say I haven't, but don't make a practice of it, because I don't. And also Small Business Saturday is coming up in just 2 weeks. It's coming up on Saturday, November 30th. So all the more reason you're open. Skip Black Friday first of all altogether. And then on Small Business Saturday, I want everyone to like flood this place. So, and also remember the Bureau of General Services Career Division is a non-for-profit. The books you buy will be taxed. But if you give them a monthly donation, or even just a one-off for that matter, but monthly is nice, right? Sustaining. That's a deduction off your taxes when April comes along. And tax day will be April 15th, which is 2 days before the Publishing Triangle award ceremony, which is free, so you don't have to worry about that tax refund, even paying for your ticket. See the world, and now we skipped over Mercedes Lewis, sorry. Our next reader is Mercedes Lewis. She is a veteran, a late bloomer, a parent, a GCLS member that is Golden, Golden Crown Literary Society, right? I got it. Yeah, thank you. And I keep wanting to go to these things because I love all the people that go to the Golden Crown when they have their what's the word I'm looking for? So the
Award ceremony.
conferences. Thank you. I knew it. It's a hard word. That's a hard word. And I haven't. I will one day though. I'll just crash. There's a boy, and she's also a poet. Mercedes has poetry and writes poetry and short stories, and she's still working on that ever elusive novel. I Feel Your Pain, Mercedes. Please welcome Mercedes Lewis.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you for inviting me. Can everyone hear me okay? Thank you all for joining me, or for me allowing me to join you. Thank you to the Bureau of General Services for having me and holding this event. When someone asks me what genre I write, I say all of them. I'm a poet. So tonight I'm going to read you several genres. Dorothy Allison said many things, some of which make me blush to even think about. But this particular thing she said, 2 or 3 things I know for sure. One of them is that if we are not beautiful to each other, we cannot know beauty in any form. And so, for you beautiful ones, I will begin my reading with my poem, Beauty. Beauty is a strange thing to which it doesn't matter what ugly place it finds itself, what chaos or what clatter. Beauty is found in peace. Beauty is found in war. It's deep beneath the sea, and on eagle's wings it'll soar. Beauty is found in girls, and yes, beauty is found in boys. Beauty is found in quiet still, and beauty is found in noise. Beauty is found in others who have yet to decide how much of self is beautiful and how much of themselves to hide. Beauty is in the mind, beauty is in the body, beauty is in the things we do. Some nice and some seem naughty. Beauty is a strange thing no one can find for you. Beauty is what you make it, so unto thyself be true. The next one, thank you. The next one, I love that. I've gotten used to that as a poet, that you just don't read straight through if you're lucky. Someone will actually applaud in between. I'm good with that. This is called SLEEP, sleep. Sweet yet languishing, growing weak yet energizing, elusive, powerful sleep. I wish I could. This one is called Bits and Pieces. This is moving into a different genre. If what they say is true, then I am in bits and pieces. Bits of my first love, pieces of another. I guess in reflection, I am the sum of all my lovers. Does it have to hurt so much when they leave and I am in bits and pieces? The next one is Kaleidoscope. The warm yellow glow of friendship, shy smiles, talking, laughing, laughter, and more laughter. The pink blush of budding romance, subtle glances, gentle touches, shy smiles, and the first kiss. Love bursts forth, vibrating orange, verdant green, a growing living thing's love. Quenching blue as I drink of you, red, hot, passionate nights. Red, puffy eyes, orange flames leaping, burning off the chaff. A confusion of colors going round and round, sometimes fading to black. And then the warm yellow glow of friendship. The kaleidoscope goes around and around, whether the warm glow is rekindling with the old or reawakening of a new love. Either way, you may find yourself with partners. In sickness and in health is what the words say. So even in illness, stay together anyway. When we are older and our back won't bend, our knees won't raise, our hips won't bend, when our arms are too short and our arms are too long, our legs are too long, we'll need someone's help to get our socks on. I'm glad you'll be there. And whomever that's with, this next poem, remember this, it is true for all of us. And the name of the poem is For All of Us. As we grow older, one thing we must have is someone with whom to grow older and laugh. Laugh at each other, laugh at ourselves. But no matter what, don't climb up on a shelf. When drivers think your car is the kind that you bump and one of you is sporting a shine or a lump, when your body aches and your teeth all fall out, it's really good to have someone about to remind you of when you could catch a ball or sport 5-inch heels without taking a fall. It may be a brother, a lover, or friend, but with this one person, there'll be no pretend. No matter what else you forget, make a deal to laugh right out loud now and then till you squeal. And we're going to move into a little erotica bonus here. This is called Horse and Pony Show. You may glean from this title that we have moved on. You'll love riding the horse, she said as she's harnessed up the pony. She was right. We rode hard well into the night, and sometimes even into morning. She would not let me ride the pony, no matter how I pleaded. And then she left, taking her horse and pony with her. I got my own horse and pony, and a new rider. Now I ride whichever I choose. This next one is called You Slay Me. Cascading, falling, spiraling, floating, tripping, dripping down. I am tongue-tied. You slay me. Your eyes, your mouth, your beautiful curls, your scent, your soul, your hands. Oh God, those beautiful, strong hands. I am spent. You slay me. And I will leave you with this one. It's called Victor. Growing and very needful right now for all of us, I think. Growing from strength to strength, you are making the journey. Sometimes baby steps, sometimes giant steps, sometimes leaps of faith, sometimes faltering backward steps. You soldier on, scarred, damaged, tender. You're an enigma to many. That's okay. Some will never understand you. Yet, you grow from victim to survivor to victor. Okay, so that's it. That's all I picked out. I have many more, but I appreciate it. I didn't want to, but I appreciate you all letting me share my words, and I hope that some of them have touched you in some small way, made you laugh or think of something, remember something. My desire, my prayer, and my intention, and my hope is that we are all victors. So mahalo in every form.
Mercedes Lewis, that was wonderful. Thank you, Mercedes.
Thank you. Thank you for
And
having
you're coming back soon too.
Okay, I can
I'm
do
glad,
that.
I'm glad you mentioned Dorothy Ellison, because I was remiss in this. Even though
Yes.
we don't have anything set. First of all, that there were bad things that happened last week. And I'd almost say that the death of Dorothy Ellison was worse than the election. So in fact,
Yes, for some of us, yes.
And as I think people know, she was recipient back at our last award ceremony back in April of this year. She was the recipient of the Bill Whitehead Lifetime Achievement Award. She made a very powerful, speaking of teeth falling, she made a very powerful video though that lives on our website. And if you haven't seen it, it lives on, it lives on our YouTube. Actually, we do link to, well, we link to everything off our website, but if you haven't seen her remarks from last year, it is something you need to watch. So please do take the time to look at it. And we are looking at doing sometime in the beginning of 2025 a reading of Dorothy's works. We're working with some of the people in her, some of her associates, some prominent writers, and stay tuned. We're in the early stages right now, but we're excited about that. And while I'm talking about doing kind of these one-offs of readings of prominent writers, Gerard here, Cabrera, is working on putting together a reading of Gary Indiana's writings. Gary died only a few weeks before Dorothy, and so we're looking at doing something there too. So stay tuned. By the way, and you'll know about all of this too. First, follow us on social media and make sure you're on our mailing list. So, and you can get on that by emailing us at publishingtriangle@gmail.com. Our last reader today, and I saw him come in, so I know he's here, is Sammy Namir Olivares. Sammy is a genderqueer Puerto Rican Dominican writer, poet, and advocate. Their debut book, Puerto Rican, Between Queer and Latina, explores themes of Latinidad, trans, and queerness with journal prompts for identity, healing, and empowerment. Sammy's appeared in the New York Times, Vogue, and their focuses in amplifying LGBTQ plus and Latina voices. Sammy, please.
This. Oh my God, thank you. 1 second. It's also gonna be my timer because I don't wanna be, over time, but 1 second. Ooh,
There are no penalties, just.
no, just
Well,
throw,
for an
throw
hour.
books at
After
me.
an hour.
Good night. It's a pleasure to be here. It's also intimidating. It was so much talent and creativity, so I'm honored to be here. Sorry, I was a little bit late. I work at Lambda Legal, and we are very busy. In 3 weeks, we're going to be in the Supreme Court because we're gonna have the first transgender gender affirming care case heard by the Supreme Court about minors' access to gender affirming care. And that's our whole days. And I'm overwhelmed and dizzy and tired, but I always ground it. And yes, this is my first book at the same time that all those bad things happen. Last week, my book come out like 3 days after that, and then I got the first box, and then I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? But I was reminded of the people that are inside of the book is people that I met and that are pioneers in our community, like Cecilia Gentili and Silvia Rivera and Lorena Borjas, people that I met that really, not Silvia Rivera because I am too young, but they were always fighting and resilient, and that's who I'm grounded during this week, is that they, no matter the darkest of times, they will stand up with their lipstick and fight on and make a joke and bring joy. So this book is rooted on the legacy and ancestral wisdom of trans and non-binary Latinx like them, and the radical joy and resistance. So I don't know what I'm gonna read yet, but spirit, you know, and you will guide me through it. So this is the central poem of the book, which is called Puerto Rican. People ask me where I am from. I'm afraid if I tell them, they will truly see me. My blood comes from everywhere, yet I'm from nowhere. I define who I am. I am my own species. Mother, Puerto Rican. Father, Dominican. My parents made me Latine, but it was God who made me queer. Gender doesn't conform to a checkbox. Nationality, undefined abandoned colony. My body's made of half mofongo, half mango. My skin of cafe and cacao. I transmute the pains, moving my hips to Quisqueya bachata and Boricuan salsa. ¡Qué sabor! My soul transcends walking through las montañas, barefoot through la playa. My voice, an extension of tropical vientos de huracanes, speaking truth to power. My curly hair, an afro crown, honoring the resiliency of my African enslaved ancestors. My intuition rooted to Madre Tierra, like my indigenous lineage, is Indio Taino. I'm two-spirited, non-binary. Generational trauma runs boiling through my veins, like I descend from European colonizers as well. Grandchild of alcohol, abuse, and drama. Peace and violence are two strands of my DNA. It is my duty to evolve my species with every word I say. Color invaded into an American, but with second-class ciudadanía, without land or voting rights. As Puerto Rican, my body can't be colonized because I'm unconquerable like the walls of El Morro. I am loud and persistent like Del Gallo y El Coquí. I am the bastardo queer child birthed from forced marriages between two colonial empires, Spanish and American mixed with African and indigenous royalty. A mestizo heir of raza pura rebelde. ¡Qué mezcla! So I'm not crazy. My soul incarnated into this queer Latina body. So one day I went from when I was Puerto Rican, climbing árboles, to almost a woman wandering the streets of Brooklyn. So my multiple identities still grow in me like the branches of a flamboyant tree. Fierce ancestry river currents melt ferociously at the mouth of the Caribbean Sea. The angels born me divine creature, bless me with sacred queerness, the power to break generational curses, to heal humanity. I am here, I am queer Latine, Puerto Rican. That's the first one. Okay, my God. Despite what you see, a man or a woman, I am neither. I live in the beyond. I live beyond gender, despite what you see. From my long honey curls to my rosy, luscious lips, to my hairy chest and legs, to my thick, curvy hips, whether I'm wearing pants or wrapped in a dress, lipstick, earrings, or heels. Think of me as who am I? Who I am is them. Them for who I tell you I am. Them for my gender and identity. Them for the multitudes I contain. Them for the ancestors that enlighten me. Them for the expansion of my community. Can you see my humanity? We are not separate beings. We're drops of the same sea. Call me by my name. Call me by who I am. Call me love. Call me please. Call me peace. Call me them. Do it, please. You may ask, what does that even mean? But I cannot answer you, since what I am, your eyes cannot foresee. I am who I am. I am me, despite what you see. And then, thank you, thank you. Who likes water? I'm like, I have like water I am, or lady in red. Let's do like water I am. I swear this poem sounds so much better in Spanish. This book is fully bilingual in English and Spanish, and the Spanish version. This is one of the first ever published books in the United States where it's fully gender neutral, gender inclusive Spanish, which is almost like a whole new language because everything almost ends in E. So it was very hard to write, but it is what it is. And so furthering a new language to include non-binary and other identities.
Do one in Spanish.
In Spanish. Oh, perfect. Yeah. So this is perfect for it to be in Spanish because I will explain it later. It's called Like Water I Am in English, and it in Spanish is Como le agua soy. Interestingly, water, everything in Spanish is gender. It's male or female. There's nothing in between. However, water is one of the only words that has both genders. It could be referred as feminine or masculine, whether it's in plural or singular. And so water is fluid. So that's what this poem is about. Como le agua soy, ascendiendo a los cielos, invisible como niebla, conjuro vapor en sueños en los cielos. Y cuando más se necesita, desciendo, nutriendo la tierra en benditas lágrimas. Como le agua, fluido soy. Mi energía no puede reducirse a una sola gota. Algunos me llaman masculino el agua en singular, otros femenino las aguas en plural. Si le agua puedo ser ambos géneros, pues yo también, como le agua, fluido soy. Nuestros ancestres yorubas conocían esta verdad, honrando el espíritu andrógino de Oricha Olokun como su deidad de todas las aguas. Como agua soy inconmiserable, no binaria, no conforme, siempre expansive, fluyendo, sanando. Existo más allá del género, bajo la luz me convierto en arcoíris. Como agua soy clara y quiete cuando no me tocan, ferocia, apabullante cuando me alteran. Recorro montañas, dulce y fluide entre los ríos de América. Desciendo con cuerpo salado de sudor y lágrimas en la bahía, oceánicamente profundo y vasto como el Atlántico, encantador y amoroso como las olas del mar Caribe, metiendo seductora, espumosa pasión sobre arenas tropicales, efervescente. Torrencial e implacable cuando me enfado, bendecide como le agua con la que fui bautizada, un espacio que permite que la vida prospere, ruidosa y molestose en los oídos de algunos, pero calmante y sanador para aquellos listos en recibir mi verdad. No soy de la tierra ni del cielo, como agua me muevo entre reinos. Soy universal para quienes estén dispuestos a sentir mi alma. Como agua, soy divine, soy eterne. So I'm going to do it in English now. It's very hard. Who speaks Spanish here? Yeah, okay, good. You're gonna learn with this book. Like water, I am. So many things confirm you're speaking language. Yes, we're still in English, but
The robots are confused.
ascending to the skies, invisible as a mist, conjure vapor into dreams in the heavens. And when most needed, I descend, nourishing earth in blessed tears. Like water, fluid am I. My energy can't be reduced to one drop. Some call me masculine, el agua when singular, the water. Others feminine, las aguas when plural. If the water could be both genders, so can I. Like water, fluid I am. Our Yoruba ancestors knew this truth, honoring androgynous Orisha spirit Olokun as their goddess of all waters. Like water, I am immeasurable, non-binary, non-conforming, ever expansive, flowing, healing. I exist beyond gender. Under light, I become a rainbow. Like water, I'm clear and still when untouched, ferocious when disturbed, deep and profound like the Atlantic Ocean, enchanting and loving like the Caribbean Sea. passionate and sultry as tropical beach waves, torrential and merciless when angered, sweet and flowy like America's rivers, blessed as the water I was baptized with, a space that enables lives to thrive. Loud and noisy in the ears of some, but soothing and healing for those ready to receive my truth. I'm not from earth nor from heaven. Like water, I move between realms, universal to those willing to see my soul. Like water, I am divine, I am eternal. That's it. Thank you, thank you. And I know I'm at time, but I'm gonna close one more time. One more minute, perfect. For these times, right? I wanna leave you with some inspiration, and we're gonna need this inspiration for the next couple of years, you know? But I hope you take this with you. In the meantime, we pulse from the ground, and pulse is in italics. They want us to disappear, silence our tongues, to hush our song for equality. But we are uncontainable pulse that beats from the heart of humanity. We are underground voices, queer and fearless, echoing drumbeats of liberation, unapologetic and fierce, birthing a quaking movement in the streets, dancing in the wise rhythm of our ancestors, breaking the ground up with a chorus of resistance. For when they want to criminalize our bodies, we make new laws palpitating with nature. For when they want to erase us from history and ban our books, we write new poems of rebellion with the ink of our boiling blood. When they want to shadow our brilliance, destroy the beauty of being queer, we paint a new multicolored canvas with unyielding strokes of joy, pride, and resistance. When they want to bury our existence, we pulse louder, shaking the ground. Do you hear the drumbeat? It is us. We're pulsed, drumming beneath the soil, breaking revolutions. We are here, we are queer, we have always been here, erupting in a laughter that splits the sky in rainbows. For when they want us to succumb to fear, we rise in a collective breath of love. Our love, brown and alive, pulsating, cracks the ground open, define the boundaries and bondage. For every wall they build, we build ladders, we leap higher. For every cage, we break free. For every sit down you can't, we quote Sylvia, you all better quiet down. Revolution now. For every attack, we invoke Marsha, pain no mind. For every no, we rise in a chorus of yes, we can. In the meantime, we fight, we organize, we protest, we cry, we build our hives, we hug ourselves. Because as times of tribulations come rushing to earth, our love is stronger than their hate, our pulse stronger than bullets, our body stronger than loss, our solidarity stronger than church or government, our collective family more loving than individualism, and our joy stronger than bigotry, our hugs stronger than anything, our humanity and universal truth. And in the meantime, we pulse from the ground. Thank you so much.
Awesome. And your phone's here and you don't want me on that. Not really that big. Thank you. This is like, and Gerard, thank you for insisting that he read it in Spanish, which is, Gerard actually curated, am I speaking? See, I can't even speak one language. Gerard actually curated a Spanish language reading, largely Spanish language reading last December, I guess it was, wasn't it? And, you know, that's one of the things we're loving about kind of the new and improved publishing triangle under Carol Rosenfeld and a new dynamic board is that we're bringing people that are just starting their careers out. And then we're having Jennifer Levin and Christopher Brand next month, and, you know, established people. And it's just a great mix that we're bringing out to these readings and that we're encouraging and promoting. So anyway, because everyone wants to go home and I have a debt, you know, I have to be at work at 7. So let me again thank Ken Harvey, Judith Barrington. She got off. I guess we don't have to thank her. No, I'm kidding. It's great. The legendary Jennifer Levin. Ruben Quesada, and again, Ruben, all our thoughts for your mother.
Yeah.
Lauren Melissa Elsie. Mercedes Lewis. I'm standing in
Thank
there.
you.
Great, remember back here Thursday, December 19th, and we have a great lineup in January. I mean, we just have great lineups all the way around. So keep joining us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much.